Welcome to our daily Power Parsha, where we study, not surprisingly, the Parsha, the weekly Torah portion, with a focus on the specific section associated with the day. So today is Wednesday. I've seen some funny memes about like today is 930th day or something. As days kind of drag on, but this is no joke. This is the real deal of Torah study. So it's Wednesday. I'm pulling up here the Torah portion text. Here we go. Torah portion text. In a moment, I'm going to share my screen with you. We're going to study the Torah reading together and share a few insights that hopefully will help uplift and inspire all of us gathered here today. Okay, without further ado, I'm going to share my screen. Here we go. Share screen. Tzav. Boom. Okay, you should get that in a moment. You got it?
Yes.
Fantastic. Oh, hi, Ray. I don't think I said hi. Hey, how's it going? Good.
Hey.
See, Ray, we would never not let you in. I'm just saying. Others, but Ray, you always have the easy pass. No problem. No bouncers at this bar for you. You are in like nobody's business. Okay, so let's get rolling. Fourth reading of our Torah portion corresponding to Wednesday. I'm going to do this. I am going to mute. How do I do this? I'm going to mute everybody. And then all you need to do is unmute yourself if you'd like to share something or ask a question. But that way, the background is nice and quiet for our discussion. Okay, this is Leviticus chapter 8. And the entirety of this reading, very interesting reading, as you'll see in a moment, the entirety of this reading is all about how Moses got the Kohanim, the priests, ready and set for the beginning of their ritual service. Let me explain. In the Mishkan, in the temple, in the tabernacle, in the Mishkan, who served on behalf of the people and who brought the sacrifices and the offerings and who was kind of running the show, if you will? It was the Kohanim, it was the priests. They were accompanied by the Levites. So the Kohanim ran the programming or the sacrificial service. The Levites played music and they sang. When you came to the temple, you got a concert, you got a barbecue. It was very complicated and very multifaceted. And it was a very exceptional experience. How were the Kohanim? How were the priests inaugurated and initiated? That is the subject of our discussion right now. And here in this fourth reading of our Torah portion corresponding to Wednesday, the Torah tells us that God tells Moses to take his brother Aaron and Aaron's sons, i.e. Moses' nephews, and he should dress them and anoint them and get them all dressed and prepared for their service, the Kohanim, the Kohen service in the Mishkan. So if you take a look, right here, let's read the first few verses. And the Lord spoke to Moses saying, verse number 2, take Aaron and his sons with him, and the garments. Remember, they made the garments, special garments for the Kohanim, and the anointing oil. Don't forget your oil, and the sin offering bull, and the 2 rams, and the basket of unleavened bread, and assemble the entire community at the entrance of the tent of meeting. So take all your stuff, all these items, and the priests. Take a look at what happens. I'm just going to read verses and then we're going to comment in a moment. Verse number 4. And Moses did as the Lord had commanded him. And the community assembled at the entrance of the tent of meeting. The tent of meeting was within the Mishkan, within the tabernacle, within that larger area. There was a structure known as the Ohel Moed, the tent of meeting. That corresponds to the Kodesh, the holies, that would be in the Beit HaMikdash, the permanent temple in Jerusalem. So that was where the inner part of the temple items were, like the menorah and the showbread table and the inner altar, and inside that was a special chamber that held the ark with the tablets and the cherubs, the keruvim that were over and above it. So here we have the people assembling at the entrance of the tent of meeting. They're not going in because you have to be a Kohen to go in, but they're assembled at the entrance of the tent of meeting. Okay, so verse number 4. No, we just did verse number 4. So Moses did as the Lord had commanded him, and the people assembled there. Verse number 5. And Moses said to the community, this is the thing that the Lord has commanded to do. So Moses says to the community, everything that's about to happen is per God's command. What happens? So what actually happens? Let's cut to the chase. Verse number 6. Moses brought Aaron and his sons forward and bathed them in water, and he placed the tunic upon him, girded him with a sash, clothed him with the robe, placed the ephod apron upon him, girded him with the band of the ephod apron, and adorned him with it. And he placed the choshen, that's the breastplate, upon him, and he inserted into the choshen the urim and the tumim, which is the special magical, mystical formula that made it work with the stones. And he placed the cap on Aaron's head, and he placed on the cap towards his face the golden showplate, that was the forehead band, the holy crown, as the Lord had commanded Moses. So Moses literally bathes and dresses his brother Aaron with the special garments of the priesthood, of the high priesthood. And then Moses took the anointing oil, verse 10, and anointed the sanctuary and everything in it, and sanctified them, etc. And it continues on from there. Here is what I want to share with you. I don't know what is making noise in this room, but it stopped. Okay, here is what I want to share with you. The commentaries ask the following question, and the truth is, you and I might ask the following question. Moses was a man of 80 years old. Moses was 80 years old at the time of the Exodus. He passed away at the ripe old age of 120, 40 years after the Exodus. They journeyed 40 years. They wandered 40 years in the desert, in the wilderness. He passes away at the age of 120. Moses was 80 years old when this was happening. And what is Moses doing? He's bathing his brother in water, whatever that looks like. He's dressing his brother. He's putting on the garments. He's putting on the belt. And the question is, why is Moses doing this? Why can't someone else do this? There can't be an assistant. There can't be a personal assistant that helps the Kohanim with the garments and the clothing and the bathing or whatever it is that they needed assistance with. Why is Moses himself doing it? And the answer we already read. The answer is verse 5. And Moses said to the community, this is the thing the Lord has commanded to do. The reason why Moses does all of this himself is because, very simply, God had told him to. God had told Moses that you are the one to do this. This is your mitzvah. I want you to do it. And Moses doesn't ask any questions. If it's his mitzvah, if it's what God wants him to do, this is what he's going to do. And that's why Moses tells the people, this is what God has commanded to do, to teach them the lesson and to teach us the lesson. And what is the lesson? There is no mitzvah that should ever be beneath us. There should never be a mitzvah that we should ever say about, nah, that's for somebody else. That's not for me. I'm higher than that. I'm not going to do that myself. That's, I'm going to farm that out to someone else. That's not for me. We should never look at a mitzvah and think about it or tell ourselves about it that it's beneath us, that it's not per our dignity. God forbid to say such a thing. Every mitzvah is a divine command, and Moses teaches us how, in this instance, with preparing his brother and the Kohanim, his nephews, for the priesthood, he does so because he was commanded to do so, and that's the nature of what a mitzvah is. I think it's a powerful lesson, and I think, in case you're wondering, what kind of mitzvah are we talking about that might be beneath us? Every mitzvah is special, right? Yes, ideally, but sometimes a person might say, that's for someone else to do. I'll give you an example. Let's say let's say you're talking about someone who is a professional, a business person, well-respected individual in their field, and then you have an opportunity for volunteering, or maybe an opportunity to teach something in the Sunday school, in the Hebrew school. And the person might say, you know what, I'm an important individual in the community. I'm maybe a big scholar or a big teacher or whatever it is, a respected business person. So it's not for me to go and do something so simple. Let someone else, let the teachers do the teaching, because that's more in their field or whatever. And let the regular people volunteer. I'll do the other things. I'll bankroll this, or I'll teach a higher level that. And the Torah is teaching us an important message, and Moshe is modeling a very important message, a lesson for us, and that is there is no mitzvah, there is no good deed that should ever be beneath us. If it's a good deed, then we should be doing it ourselves. Like the famous story in Hasidic circles about the Alter Rebbe, the founder of Chabad, that it was once on Yom Kippur morning, the holiest day of the year. He's in synagogue, he takes off his tallit, takes off his prayer shawl, and he walks out toward the forest. And the next thing you know, the Alter Rebbe, and there was a person that was trailing him to see this, the Alter Rebbe took an axe, chopped wood, took it to the house of a woman who was not feeling well, and whose husband was, I don't know, either he had passed away or he was out of town for the holiday. Either way, the woman had children and she was too weak to prepare food for them. So he cooked food for the children and for her, and did all of these things on Yom Kippur itself. Because on Yom Kippur we know that to save a life, that overrides every other mitzvah, pretty much, including the observances of Yom Kippur, and therefore he did all of this for her on that holy day, teaching us the value of saving a life and protecting health and well-being. But the question is asked, why did the Alter Rebbe himself have to do it? Certainly he had assistants and the Gabbai. The Gabbai is like the assistant in the synagogue. Certainly there were others who could have, on the Alter Rebbe's behalf, communal leaders, advocates for the community, whatever, activists. Certainly there were other community individuals that could have gone to this woman's house and prepared food for her. Why did the Alter Rebbe himself do it? Why did this holy leader, this mystic, this great Jewish leader himself do it? And the answer is to teach us a lesson. Well, it's not even to teach us a lesson. The answer is because if it's a mitzvah, it's a mitzvah. And if it's a mitzvah, then why shouldn't he do the mitzvah? Which teaches us a lesson, that there should never be a mitzvah that we deem beneath us. Let someone else take care of that. I'm going to take the higher stuff. That's for someone else to do. We should never say that. Moses didn't say, dressing my brother. The previous Rebbe, known as the Frierdiker Rebbe, the previous Rebbe, Rabbi Yosef Yitzchak Schneerson, who passed away in 1950, so he taught, and he would say this refrain: if you know an aleph, teach an aleph. Right? You might say, well, no, teaching aleph bet is beneath me. I'm teaching higher things. No. If you know it and someone else doesn't, and you need to teach it, and they need to learn, teach it. So that's one major lesson. There is no mitzvah, there's no good deed that should be beneath us. We should always step up to the plate because every good deed is infinitely valuable. Second message, a very quick message, and that is, who is it that enabled or that empowered the Kohanim, the priests, to do their service? Aaron and his sons. Who was it that empowered them, that set them up for this opportunity to lead? It was Moses, of course, at God's command, but it was on the ground practically. It was Moses who got them ready, inaugurated them, trained them, literally dressed them, and got them set for the service. The same thing is true when it comes to a leader. The role of a leader is to empower others to lead. Again, Moses empowers Aaron to do what? To be the high priest that is going to represent the entire nation in their spiritual service. Moses is training leaders, not followers. This is the true mark of leadership, as we've discussed many times in many different contexts, as Rabbi Jonathan Sachs says about the Rebbe, that most leaders create followers. It's the truly great leaders that create leaders. The Rebbe in our generation created leaders. The Rebbe didn't want any followers. What's a follower anyway? Don't follow. Lead. Like I said a moment ago, if you know an aleph, teach an aleph. Don't just be the student. Become the teacher. Whatever you know, you can then teach to someone else. Moses is teaching us an incredible lesson that we're also meant to pass forward, and that is, what does it mean to be a leader? To create other leaders, to empower others to lead. Moses empowers his brother and empowers his nephews, empowers the Kohanim to be the Kohanim, to be the spiritual leaders of the people. I think also I want to just briefly mention, this also hopefully clarifies a major misconception when it comes to the role of a Moses. You see, sometimes people look at a Moses, at a leader, and say, I don't know, I don't really get a leader, a Moses, a Rebbe. Who needs an intermediary standing between me and God? Can't I just connect with God myself without a Moses, without a Rebbe, without a leader? And the answer is, of course, and that's not the role of a Moses. The role of a Moses is not to stand in between the individual and God, but it's to stand behind them and push them up, to inspire them to get closer. That's what what a leader does. A leader doesn't get in the way, because that sustains the need. That sustains that individual in the role of a recipient. But that's not what true leadership is. True leadership is not creating a bunch of people that are needy and that are recipients, that are stuck in recipient mode. As I said a moment ago, true leadership is empowering people to lead and to stand up on their own 2 feet. It's like good parenting. Good parenting is not to create dependence, right? A dependency of your children. It's not about codependency. It's not about creating a situation where your children need you. It's creating children, actually raising adults who are self-sustaining, who understand their role and are empowered to live their life in the best possible way as they see it. So what's the bottom line? A Moses is not standing between the person and God as an intermediary. Moses is standing behind the person, right? Helping them, encouraging them, sometimes giving them a boost up to get closer and to God, and to accept, to embrace their divine calling. And that's what Moses does here with Aaron, with his brother and his nephews, the Kohanim. Moses doesn't block their priesthood. Moses helps empower them to be the leaders. So, in summation, we have 2 lessons. Number 1, there is no mitzvah. By definition, there cannot be a mitzvah that is beneath us. If it's a mitzvah, then it's worthy of our attention. Never look down on a mitzvah. Never discount a mitzvah. Oh, that's just a small thing. That's not so important. Never discount a mitzvah. It's always infinitely valuable. Message number 1. Message number 2, let's empower others to lead. Let's inspire others not to remain needy on our inspiration, but to in turn become the ones who inspire others. That's the true definition of leadership. Whether it's our children, whether it's our mentees, whether it's our students, in whatever, or our colleagues, co-workers, neighbors, friends, whatever context it is, let's be a role model of inspiration, but so inspiring to inspire others to also be role models of inspiration. That's it for today. Thank you for joining me, and the floor is now open. You can unmute yourselves, ask any questions, and we can continue the conversation.